Sure. Well, several years ago, God had our family serving in a community that was stricken by addiction and generational poverty, a lot of abuse, a lot of heartache. And we were going in there every week, and the people that we were reaching out to became our friends and family. We loved them. And during that process, one of the mothers there that had been pretty rock hard to the gospel, but would allow her 3 children, to be involved in our student ministries during the week. She had to serve some prison time and was going to lose her kids to the system. And we did not know how much of our interaction there was having an effect on her. We saw changes in her children's lives through the Bible studies and the times that we were with them. But when she called me broken and asked me to take care of her kids while she was in prison, we knew immediately that it was what God was wanting us to do. My wife and I had just finished actually the training to be foster parents. And the night we were finished with that and were ready to serve the Lord in that way, we got this call from this woman. And we then welcomed her children into our home, and the 3 of them added to our 5 children, so we had a full household of 8. And that was in the fall of 2011, and they were with us for 2 years, and they just became part of our family. And every week we would go visit their mother in prison. And as their children, one by one, were led to the Lord by my children, it was a beautiful thing to see that God was redeeming this situation of pain and hurt and putting them in a home where they could hear about His love. They started praying for their mother's salvation and expecting that God was going to use this time where she had been running so hard and really had never experienced a season free from addiction, that God would get a hold of her heart while she was in prison. And I remember the day very well. One of our many weekly visits, we just had this sense of expectancy and prayer as we were going to the institution, and we sat down with her there in the visiting room and surrounded by other prisoners and prison guards, and the Lord just worked in a mighty way, and she stopped resisting God's love and surrendered her life to Christ, and through tears said, "I had to come to prison to get free." And we're all crying there and singing praise songs in the middle of that prison visit room. That was about halfway into her time in prison. And so we continued to love her and prepare her to come out, and God provided a network of friendships and relationships and ministry contacts where we would able to give her a job when she came out of prison, reunite the family, have a house provided for her for a season. And now she's still working full-time, doing great with the kids. The kids are still involved in our lives. They live just down the street from us. They change school districts and are involved in youth ministry programs. It's just a beautiful picture of what God wants to do when we reach out and with the nail-scarred hands of Jesus and welcome someone into the family. And that's not an isolated incident of what God wants to do. He wants to do that through His church opening their homes to the hurting, so that we can be a channel between a hurting world and a healing God through our families. And I know my children will be forever changed by that experience for the better. It was hard. It was difficult. There were times of frustration, but it was so well worth it to follow Christ's lead, to identify with those that are in need and watch Him just heal and restore. That's the kind of God we serve, and that's the kind of God we get to partner with when we open up our homes. Sure. If you feel like God's calling you to be involved in Safe Families, one of the beautiful things about this ministry is that there's several different areas of ministry that you can connect with. There's the host family that brings the child or children into their home for the season. Then there's also family friends that come alongside and just be a support system to that host family, as well as the mother or the father who are voluntarily placing their child in that care for a season. So you can work to bless both the host family and the family that's being served. I know when we opened up our home, there's no way that we could have followed through with what God had on our hearts without the community of the local church. The first evening when it was real, those 3 extra children in our home. Now we have 8 children sit around the dinner table, and we really didn't know what we were going to serve for food. There was a knock at the door, and one of our friends from church had brought over a whole meal, and we didn't know. And that was just one example of time after time, a check coming in the mail, people showing up to help with childcare, different beds that we needed or different things that were provided. And Safe Family produces this network of people that are on board with the family that steps out in faith to provide resources and relational connections that are needed. So no matter what level you think that you can be involved, I encourage you to pursue Safe Families, because there is a ministry connection point for you, and you will be blessed. You can't outgive God. When you reach out and serve, He's going to bless you abundantly, and you will be able to see Him work in ways that you never would have if you would have stayed within your comfort zone. So just get involved and see where God leads.